You're telling me she will serve the same amount of time as a man that's in prison for drugs? She was traveling from city to city, good and well knowing that her child was at home by herself. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, guys. So by the title of this video, I'm going to be talking about the 19-year-old that was charged for neglecting her. If you're new to my channel and you do not know who I am, my name is Phillip, or Gade for short. Make sure you guys like, comment and subscribe to the ting. So before I give my opinion, I'm just going to read out all the information that I found and then I'm just going to give my opinion. Verfi was 16 years old when she gave birth to Isaiah. She had a history of vulnerability and she was reported missing when she was 14. By the time she was 18, she was living in a supported housing run by YMCA on behalf of Brighton and Hove City Council. CCTV showed Verfi leaving her house on the 5th of December and returning on the 11th of December. The YMCA staff are located in the building, however they are not required to enter living premises or carry out any visits or inspections. When Verfi returned to her flat, she called 999 to report that her 20-month-old daughter was unresponsive. The paramedics rushed over and described her as distraught and incoherent and distressed. When paramedics examined Isaiah, they said she was cold and unresponsive. They rushed her to Royal Alexandra Children's Hospital in Brighton. Unfortunately, she was declared dead on arrival. Verfi told police that Isaiah ate a banana and went to bed and failed to wake up. YMCA staff reviewed CCTV, realized that Verfi had disappeared for a matter of 6 days before returning. That means she left Isaiah home alone for 6 days. On the 5th of December 2019, Verfi left her flat and travelled to London to go and meet her boyfriend so they could go to dinner and celebrate her 18th. On the 6th of December, Verfi travelled to Putney to grab a quick bite with her friends. On the 7th, Verfi attended a 90s rave in Elephant and Castle. On the 9th, Verfi travelled to Coventry with her friends to celebrate one of her pals' birthdays. On the 10th, Verfi and her friends travelled back to London and she stayed at her mate's house. During her escapades, it was said she had an emotional breakdown because she was missing her baby. However, she lied to her friends and said her mother was looking after her daughter. December the 11th, Verfi returned home to her daughter unresponsive after 5 days, 21 hours, 58 minutes. CCTV also showed Verfi waited 3 hours in the communal area of her building before she decided to call the police. Verfi was arrested on October 2020 and charged with manslaughter. She pled guilty to her charge and was remanded until her sentencing. She was sentenced to 9 years, ordered to serve 6 in prison and the rest on license. Isaiah's post-mortem revealed that she died from neglect, dehydration and starvation. I'm thinking, yeah, I wonder if they checked if this was the first time. Like, has this happened more than once? Because for you to leave your child for 6 days on a first attempt, that wouldn't make sense to me. To me, you had to have done this more than once. A doctor gave a statement in court that Isaiah was unlikely to have cried for a long period of time because this may have happened before, so she was used to knowing that if she cried, nothing was going to happen and there wasn't going to be a response. Brighton and Hove Safeguarding Children's Partnership launched an investigation into Isaiah's death, taking into account Verfi's vulnerable history. She was described as a person who slipped through the social care net. At the time, Verfi didn't have a social worker. I don't know how it is possible for you to not have a social worker during these kind of circumstances. Judge said Verfi didn't intend to cause the death of her daughter and she did not intend to cause serious harm, and that was why she got 9 years. To give somebody 9 years and say they didn't intend to cause harm, that doesn't make any sense to me, because if the doctor has examined that this has most likely been done on more than one occasion, then how? Like how? How are you putting yourself first before your child? Like, where does your mind go to decide that, yeah, I'm gonna leave the house and I'm gonna go hours away from where I live and not come back home for 6 days? 6 days. and that is not intent to harm. If this was a stance where they were saying, okay, her mental health is not right or she's got mental illness, then I could understand. But it doesn't seem like they've even considered if she has any mental illness or anything like that. 9 years and only serving 6. That means she'll be out and living among us in her 20s to be able to tell the story. Like, do you know how wild that is to me? And what I find strange is that crime or anything against children should be life in prison. I don't care what it is. I don't care what it is. The system and law is so muddled up, and it's not even like the child is 5. I'm not trying to justify her leaving, but it's not like the child is 5 or 6 where she could have logically thought that, okay, the child can look in a cupboard or whatever. The child is not even 1, and you can leave the house, go from city to city, and not once deep that, right, I need to go home now. From she landed in London, she should have said, you know what, fuck this, I need to go back to my yard. Like, how do you do this? How do you do this and you're in the right stable mind? I get that as teenagers, you want to be young, you want to be a kid, you want to live you want to have the best 18. I get that, but could you not? What happened to your family? What happened? There are so many questions that are not answered. What happened to the staff? I have friends that have had children really young, but the way the social system treated them, I'm surprised it wasn't the same. And why would they move somebody out of London, good and well knowing that their family is in London? If you know that somebody needs help or needs support, why are they not near their family? Regardless of her relationship with her family, there's actually a child involved, that it's most likely that the family love that child unconditionally and would most probably do anything for that child. And you're telling me you lot would just move somebody way out of London, that by themselves, and then put them in a building that doesn't monitor them? To me, that doesn't make any sense at all. And a lot of people will answer to this one way or another. In my opinion, I feel like 9 years wasn't enough. I also feel like the staff in that building should be held responsible as well, because I don't like the fact that a lot of these buildings only monitor who comes in the building, or you sign in like your guests. That's what I've noticed as well, because I had a friend that had a child young and she stayed in the mother and baby unit, and they only monitored the guests that entered, but there was no checking of the well-being of the actual children, which is weird. Also, where was the dad? Where is the dad? I also feel like, I understand that there's women out there that we have portrayed being independent and stuff like that, but there's also women that go through like postpartum depression. There's women that are not able to cope, and I feel like men need to be penalized for not showing up for their children. Men need to be held accountable. Like, where's the father? I feel like if women know the father of their children, social workers need to do checks on them as well, and check if they are checking on their kids. If the dad was present, this may not have happened. I want you guys to comment down below and tell me what you guys think. Do you feel like this girl deserves 9 years? Do you feel like she deserves more? Like, do you feel like there's anybody else that should be held accountable for something like this? For me, crime or harm against children is just, it's not even something that I can comprehend. It's just like, if you do not want the child, or if you feel like you cannot do it or whatever, give the child up. You can visit, you can, like, all those things are in place. All those things are possible. From you're not putting your child in harm's way and you genuinely feel like you are unfit or you're not ready yet, that doesn't mean that you're a bad parent. That doesn't mean that you're a bad person. And it's a shame that people think that they have to fight with themselves to have their cake and eat it too. Like, it's that you can't. If you're gonna have a child young, there's sacrifices that need to be made. That was all for this video. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Once again, I'd like to say rest in peace to Isaiah, and yeah, it's just such a shame. Such a shame.